Well, the Mavs just took control of the Western Conference Finals and took a 2-0 series lead on the back of Luka's game-winning step back against the Defensive Player of the Year. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. The four-time Defensive Player of the Year, who he made look like he was ice skating. So let's start there. There were a bunch of mistakes made by the Wolves and their coaching staff down the stretch of this game. First off, Rudy Gobert should not have been in this basketball game on that last defensive play. I don't care if he's the Defensive Player of the Year or not. Everyone knew that they were going to hunt for that switch, and Gobert just does not stand any chance out there on the perimeter against Luka or Kyrie. So beyond that mistake of leaving him in the game, Gobert just cannot give up a three in that situation. Basic basketball knowledge tells you that coming out of that timeout, everyone in that gym should have been saying and communicating, no threes. Do not give up a three, no help. Do whatever you can to not give up a three. Because, I mean, worst case scenario, they get a layup and they tie the game, and then you have a chance to go win it on the other end, or you don't score and you go straight into overtime. But instead, Gobert gives up a three and they lose the game. And then, speaking of a chance on the other end, again, why was Karl-Anthony Towns not in the game for Rudy Gobert on the last offensive play? Gobert is a complete non-threat on offense, and don't tell me that he was in for an offensive rebound chance, because 3 seconds was not enough time for him to be able to do all that. So Gobert being in the game allowed for someone on the Mavs defense to just stand there, whereas if you had Cat in the game, that would have put pressure on all 5 defenders, which could have potentially opened up something where they could get a better shot. And then, real quick, while I'm talking about that last play, I just want to say that I do not want to hear any criticism towards Ant not shooting the ball in that play. I've heard too much of that from about LeBron over the years and over his career. That right there was the right play 10 out of 10 times, especially in that situation where Naz Reid was 7 for 8 from the three-point line that game. So he ended up with a wide open three and a wide open shot compared to a fadeaway over 2 defenders, a fadeaway 3 over 2 defenders for that matter. The Ant was going to have to take it if he would have shot the ball. So I'm not listening to any Ant slander regarding that specific incident. If people want to critique his play over these first 2 games of the conference finals, sure, I'm fine with that, but not that particular play. I'm not going to listen to that because it's just not fair, because that was the right play and I would want him to do that 10 out of 10 times. And then also, before I get off this Gobert rant, and I hate to keep picking on him because he's a good basketball player, he's a good defender, but he should not have been in the game at all down that stretch, in my opinion. He was not providing anything on either end of the floor in this particular game. I'm not saying that he's not a great player and that he never provides anything, but in this particular game, he was providing nothing for the team. At least Cat would have offered a scoring threat and kind of spaced the floor and potentially made things easier on that end. And it also would have allowed you to run a switching defense on defense. But I guess that's enough. I'm done ranting about the Wolves and all the mistakes they made, because with all that being said and all that criticism that I just sent towards the Wolves, don't let it distract you from the fact that the Mavs just simply won this game more than the Wolves gave it away. To me, this game was won in that last few minutes of the second quarter. The Wolves were up 18, I believe it was, with a chance to go ahead and blow this thing open. And personally, I believe up 1-0 in the series and already flipping home court advantage, I believe that if the Mavs would have went into halftime down 20 plus, they would have came out and tried to make one little run. But to me, they would have just took their loss and been good with heading back to Dallas with the series tied at 1 apiece. But instead, they were able to get the lead down to 12 and keep it within striking distance. And then they came out in the third and hung around, got into the fourth quarter and kept hanging around until eventually, well, they struck and Luka hit the game winner. So obviously, in this game, Luka was great. In these first 2 games, Luka has been great. But in this game, Kyrie went back to his usual slow first half where he's just kind of picking his spots, not being real aggressive. And then he picked it up in the third, and then into the fourth, he made some huge shots to really start it off and to really get them going. And then he missed those 2 free throws. And if they would have lost this game, he would have been the one that people pointed their fingers at and blamed the game on and said that he choked or whatever. But instead, he actually came back and rewrote the narrative and hit arguably the biggest shot of the game when he hit that corner 3 in the left corner that was at the end of the shot clock on a kind of scramble play to cut the lead from 5-2 with a minute left in the game. And then obviously Luka hit the game winner to finish it. But beyond those 2 and beyond that dynamic duo, I have to give my flowers to Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. I cannot speak enough on what these 2 have done for this team. In this game, they combined for 30 points on 14 of 16 shooting from the field. So that's just a 30 easy points that they gave the Mavs in this game tonight. And then on defense, they're just all over the place, blocking shots, contesting shots, switching out on the perimeter if they have to. They dominate the glass, and they're just playing their roles perfectly. And Jason Kidd has figured out a perfect plan and a perfect game plan of rotating them every 4 minutes or so and keeping them fresh and so that when they do come in, they can be all over the place, like I said, and protect the rim and dominate the glass and rim run full speed with fresh legs. So, like I said, I can't speak on those two enough, and I don't want to overlook Washington and Jones in the process, who also had great contributions, along with Jalen Hardy, who got some playing time today, and everyone else that touched the floor just was played their role and contributed to the game in a positive way. So, when you see a championship team, it's very obvious and it's very clear, but it's also one of those things that it's hard to put into words, but there's certain connectedness and a buy-in and commitment that is obvious with championship teams, and these Mavs have it, and they are on their way towards going to the finals. So the Wolves have a tough task ahead of them, but it's not impossible. They just have to take it one game at a time and try to get game 3. They were just on the other side of this in the last series against Denver, so they know how easy things can turn on their head and then turn again and then turn again and then turn again after that. So this series is a long way from over, and all I ask as a fan of the NBA is that even if this does become a sweep, I hope we get 2 more games of this caliber, because honestly, these 2 games have been some of the best games of the playoffs. Thanks for checking out the channel. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out some more of our content.